Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be wrapping up all of the books that I read in May. Now, I am slowly realizing the issue with doing weekly vlogs and doing wrap-ups because I have talked about almost all of these books already on my channel, but the problem is it would drive me insane to not do a May wrap-up. It's a continuity thing. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna like talk about them briefly, but I do want to wrap them up. I think there's like one or two books, maybe it's just one, that I haven't talked about, but it's fine. We're just gonna go with it. Everything will be fine. Okay, so I have read 9 books total in May, but I have only read 4 like full-length novels. The other 5 have been graphic novels, and while 9 is good and I'm happy with that number, it's not as much reading as I was really hoping to do in May, because at the very beginning of this month I was in like a reading slump, and then after I was out of the reading slump it was finals week, and then I fell down the K-pop hole again, so I didn't do much reading last week. It's just been a lot. It's just been a lot. So I'm just gonna start out with the 5 graphic novels slash manga that I decided to read this month. So I think I'll go in chronological order. So the first one is Fangs by Sarah Anderson. This is one of my 5 stars. I loved it so much. I'm so sad it took me so long to get to reading this graphic novel because I've been aware of it for a really long time, but it was really funny. It was really cute. It's about like this kind of love story between a vampire and a werewolf, and anything supernatural like that I am basically guaranteed to love. I love the art style a lot too, and it was just a really good time. It's a really short read too, so you should check it out if you think you'd be into that, because I adored it basically. So the next book I read this month is Frankenstein by Junji Ito. This is my first Junji Ito horror manga that I decided to pick up just because they had it at the library, and I've been meaning to read one by him for a really long time, and I generally enjoyed this. I liked the art style a lot. Like, that's the main reason I keep wanting to read more, because I love looking at all of his drawings. They're so cool. But the stories like themselves were okay. I found them interesting for sure, a little creepy, a little unsettling, but it just didn't like wow me. But I am reading more. I do want to like read all of them because I'm intrigued enough to where I want to like read all of his work, but I'm not like obsessed. I find I kind of have this problem with like normal short story collections that are like, you know, written as a novel. I don't really connect to too many of them. There's like no characters to connect to. The plots are pretty like short and there's not a lot of like development throughout them. And while in Frankenstein specifically, I believe there was one character that was like in mostly all of them, he was kind of annoying. And his only personality trait was that he was short. And while it was kind of funny, I was like, dude, not all your problems in your life are because you're short, okay? But it was like, it was a good time. I enjoyed it. I liked what he did with Frankenstein. He definitely interpreted it in slightly different a way than how I interpreted it, because Frankenstein's monster was written in like a more aggressive and like typical monster scary way, even though in the book you're kind of, you know, you feel for the monster. He's got like complex emotions and all this. I didn't get that with the story, which makes sense because it's just like his interpretation of Frankenstein, but it was just different, and I didn't really connect with the story in the same way I did with the novel, which again makes sense, and I really liked seeing what he did with it, but it just like wasn't quite there. And then on the vlog in which I read Frankenstein, I asked you guys for some suggestions on like what your favorite Junji Ito are, and Perry from 6 of Chaos, which if you don't subscribe to her, you definitely need to, I'll link it down below, told me that Tomi was her favorite, so I had to go pick up Tomi, and I really enjoyed this one. I think I gave it a 4 stars. It wasn't quite at a 5 stars, but honestly, this was just so entertaining, and I liked it a lot more than Frankenstein, mainly because this is kind of just one narrative throughout the entire book. Like, it follows one character. It's kind of a linear story, but the whole concept of Tomi is that she's a succubus, I think, and she makes men fall in love with her and then makes them kill her. But then she comes back. But all of the stories kind of followed a different guy that she was seducing and then getting to kill her. And it's just such a strange concept, but I kind of loved it. It was just so like intriguing, and I also really liked the ending of this book because it's not like, oh my god, we killed Tomi, we're all safe now. It's like, she's still out there and she's gonna come for you, and it's kind of fun that way. Really enjoyed Tomi, and I think I have the next one I'm gonna read right here actually. I'm gonna read Love Sickness next, so I think I will be talking about this in my June wrap up. So yeah, I'm really excited to read some more. I just feel like Junji Ito is so creative and very talented. So the next graphic novel that I decided to pick up was the 5th installment of the Mortal Instruments graphic novels. I love these so much. I love the art style. I love revisiting the Mortal Instruments in this way because I didn't love the books. Like, they were alright. However, I think City of Glass may have been my favorite of the 6 now that I think about it. I don't know, and that's what this one is following. So like, little explanation here, there's 5 of these out and there's like 2 graphic novels per actual book. So this is the 5th one. So it follows the first part of City of Glass. And I just love being reminded of like what happens in each of the Mortal Instruments books, because when I read it, I like marathoned all of them in a week. I cannot tell you a single thing that happens in any of those books individually, and I really don't want to reread them to find out. So this is a really easy way to like give myself a refresher of like what events happened in what book without having to reread them or like look up a plot summary, which would like wouldn't be hard, but this is just more fun, and I just love these so much. And I gave this one a 5 stars, obviously. And then the last graphic novel I read is called Creepy Cat. I was just browsing the graphic novel like section at my library and I just saw this title and I was like, that sounds like everything I would enjoy, and it absolutely was. Actually, I think I might have given this one a 5 stars too. The art style is super fun. The story, it's very like episodic, like it kind of follows a linear timeline, but at the same time it's like a bunch of different small events, and I really liked that. The main character, I think she lives in like a mansion type deal, or maybe there is a mansion. I don't remember, to be honest, now that I think about it. I know I liked it, and it was just a fun time, and it involved cats. Basically, I was into it. That's all I really remember about it though. So those are all of the graphic novels and manga that I read this month. I've really been wanting to expand my graphic novel / manga reading, so hopefully this is the beginning of that. I don't know. Anyway, we're just gonna move on to the 4 full-length novels that I read this month. All of them were, you know, alright. The first one that I read was Xoxo by Xoxo. I've known about this book for a really long time and just never got around to picking it up. And then I just decided to borrow it on my Kindle one night, and I think I finished it in like 2 sittings because it is so easy to read. It's honestly like a fun time. It's about this girl who meets a K-pop idol in America, but she doesn't know that he's a K-pop idol. So then they part ways, and then she ends up having to move to South Korea. Once she gets there, she sees his face on a billboard and she's like, oh. Things go down. It's like a forbidden romance kind of type deal because it's hard to date a K-pop idol. And honestly, it sounds super cliche. It definitely was. It was really easy to predict like what was going to happen next and kind of how it was gonna happen, but it's a really fast read. It's really fun. The characters honestly like aren't super well fleshed out. It kind of felt like I was reading a Wattpad fanfic, but I wasn't mad about it. I enjoyed it, and based on my enjoyment levels of it, I gave it a 4 stars. So then the next book I finished, I also give a 4 stars to, and that is Bunny by Mona Awad. I won't talk about it too much because I talked about it a lot in the vlog that I was reading it in, but it was weird. It was strange. You kind of don't know what's happening the whole time, and then towards the end you kind of know what's happening, but still like it's very open-ended. It's up to interpretation, but I really liked it for that reason, and I just love books where you don't really know what's going on most of the time. Like, the first part of this book is pretty tame, honestly, but once you jump into the second part, it's like a fever dream, and it was like in the best way possible. I thought Mona Awad's writing was fantastic. Like, just, I can't even explain it, but the way that she writes things and the writing style that she uses is so, I need to read it again so I can like analyze it better, because like the first time through you're kind of just trying to figure out what's happening, but I feel like the second time through I want to focus more on why she's writing things the way she's writing things, because I feel like that's also really telling. It was just really good. It wasn't quite at a 5-star for me. I'd probably give it a 4.5, but I just rounded it down to a 4. So the next book that I read, I was looking for like a fun, fast-paced summer horror type deal, so I picked up My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. The title of his other book is really long, so I'm just gonna call it The Vampire Book. I read that one last September, I think, and I really enjoyed it. I just found myself flying through that one, and I also found myself flying through this one. A couple moments of this book kind of scarred me. There was a thing with a tapeworm, and there was a thing with a cockroach, and there was a thing with a cockroach in the vampire book too, and I just can't. I can't deal with bugs, specifically cockroaches, so I had to skim a little bit. I couldn't do it, but the rest of the book was really entertaining. I enjoyed how he wrote these female friendships, which I didn't really know what to expect coming from like a grown man writing about friendships between teenage girls, but I feel like it honestly like wasn't too bad and I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, not my favorite of his. I gave this one a 3 stars. I liked the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires just a little bit more. I think I gave that one a 4 stars, but this one is still solid, just a fun read. This book takes place in the 80s, and I feel like maybe if I knew more about the 80s, I would probably have bumped this up to a 4 stars, but I don't. So there's a lot of 80s references, and all of like the chapter titles are references to 80s songs, so if you know more about it, or if you were, you know, alive in the 80s, you'd probably find just a little bit more enjoyment out of this than I did, but I still really enjoyed the story a lot. The characters were like okay, but the plot is the interesting part, obviously. And then the last book that I finished in May is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I got some grievances to air about this one. The thing is, overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it's a fun story. I liked the way it's told. Originally, in the start of this book, I didn't really like either of our main characters, but towards the end of the book, Alex, he grew on me a lot. But I'm still like not a big fan of Poppy. I don't know. It was okay, but my main like qualm with this book is that there's this event that happened that they talk about like for the entirety of the book. It takes like 330 pages to get to the point in the narrative where they're gonna tell us and like show us what this event is. And I was like, oh, they must have had some big blow up. They probably like something really big probably happened. It did not. Something happened, but it wasn't like, in my opinion, it wasn't a big deal. And they literally like stopped talking to each other for 2 years over it, and it was just so stupid. Honestly, I get really heated talking about it because it makes me mad, because that was like one of the only things that kept me like wanting to read for the rest of the book. And then we got to it and I was like, oh, disappointment has set in. Aside from that though, it was okay. There were moments in the book where I was like, okay, fine, whatever, they're kind of cute, I kind of want them to end up together. But aside from that, it didn't wow me. I am, however, giving it a 3 stars though, because I liked the concept of this book a lot, and I liked seeing all of the different places they were going on vacation. I think this is a really clever way to tell a story, and I liked the premise of it a lot. But characters, meh. Conflict, meh. There was also like a 3rd act conflict that also pissed me off. So everything up to like around page 300, I was like, okay, fine, yeah, this is fine. After that, no. So those are all the books I read in May. I feel like it was a pretty average reading month for me. Nothing really blew my mind, but nothing sucked, which is always good. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know what you guys read in May, what your favorite book is, or if you're feeling shady, what is your least favorite book you read in May? I love seeing least favorite books. It's entertaining to me, so let me know. And yeah, that's it. I will see you guys in my next video.